Welcome back to Panda Audiobooks. You are listening to Pursuit of the Truth by Jen, covering chapters 36 through 40. Su Ming has successfully established his secret base after the traumatic betrayal. Now, he must face the complex reality of the South Morning cultivation world. This segment details his first dangerous excursions, his calculated interactions with local forces, and the ingenious steps he takes to hide his Berserker identity while secretly fueling his path to vengeance. His solitude is absolute, but his resolve is unbreakable. Prepare for the silent accumulation of power. Chapter 36. The Mockery from Ancient Times. Su Ming was stunned. When he looked at the moon once again, the red hint had disappeared as though it was just an illusion. Su Ming's eyes turned grave. He did not believe that it was just an illusion. He became silent as he stared at the moon once again from the small holes on the wall. Time passed by slowly. While Su Ming looked at the moon, he did not circulate the qi around his body. As such, the red light disappeared quickly from the cave and everything returned to normal. After a while, Su Ming frowned. Could it really be a mistake? Su Ming sighed. He was just about to close his eyes and forget about the moon when a thought crossed his head. He frowned. That's not right. Somewhere in his mind, he caught onto a train of thought, but the thoughts flitted around in his head as if they were about to disappear at any second. It was very difficult for him to gather them. Red moon, red moon, red. Su Ming mumbled and lowered his head to look at this body. He remembered the moment he saw the red moon was when the medicine had just worn off. His blood was circulating around his body according to his will, and there was red light lighting up the cave. His eyes gradually brightened up as he thought about it. The muddled thoughts in his head gradually became clear. After a moment, Su Ming instantaneously opened his eyes as he activated and circulated the blood in his body. The 19 blood veins appeared on his body at once and released a piercing red glow. Not only was his body enveloped in the red glow, the cave was also dyed in a red light. Su Ming focused his eyes on the moon from the multiple little holes. Under the glare of the red light, he took a deep breath as a look of comprehension appeared in his eyes. They became increasingly serious at the same time. At that very moment, the moon appeared red. The moon itself was not red, but because the cave was enveloped in red, Su Ming was looking at the moon underneath the red light. It was only logical for him to think that the moon had turned scarlet. The desire to obtain Berserk spreads to all corners of the earth. Let fire burn in mine blood, let mine thoughts burn the skies, let fire burn heaven into ashes. If it be true the moon of fire appears from the clouds on the endless earth, I wilt sink into deep bethought as the fire in mine blood burns. The 9 is the utmost of all, and the 1 is the law. Light up the Berserker fires and worship the 9, did let us all becometh the authorities of fire. Su Ming looked at the red moon and mumbled, I wilt sink into deep bethought. I wilt sink into deep bethought. The meaning of this line should be, the moon of fire will only appear if you think about it calmly and imagine it. But what am I imagining? As the fire in mine blood burns, the 9 is the utmost of all, and the 1 is the law. Light up the Berserker fires and worship the 9, did let us all becometh the authorities of fire. No. These lines don't have much relation to imagination. It should be related to an action instead. Su Ming frowned. As of then, he was still controlling the circulation of blood in his body. It caused the red glow to become thicker. The red tint on the moon became clearer in his eyes. Imagination. Su Ming's eyes lit up abruptly as a thought struck him like thunder roaring in the sky. Could it be that I have to chant these lines? If it be true the moon of fire appears from the clouds on the endless earth, I wilt sink into deep bethought. If that's the case, then the meaning is different. It doesn't mean that I should only start imagining when the moon of fire appears, but I have to imagine the moon of fire appearing. Su Ming trembled. He felt that he had just caught onto something important. He breathed in sharply and began thinking about the moon turning red in the sky quietly in his heart. The image kept repeating itself as time passed by. He even forgot about controlling the circulation of blood in his body once all his attention was focused on imagining the moon turning red. He also did not notice the blood-red light in the cave had already faded away and the cave had returned to its normal shade of color. He lifted his head and looked at the moon from the numerous holes on the wall. The image in his head was projected onto the moon. Red moon, burning moon. Su Ming mumbled. In his mind, the moon was red and the shade of red was becoming thicker, gradually turning the entire moon blood red. At that moment, Su Ming's entire body seemed to relax. He could feel a thin thread of red light falling down from the moon before his eyes. It floated through the little holes and fused into his eyes. Bit by bit, it flowed into his body and mixed with his blood. There was a cold sensation in his entire body and it assimilated into his blood, causing his qi to slowly circulate on its own in his body. Su Ming did not realize it. He felt as if the entire world had disappeared. The only thing that existed was the red moon and it was becoming bigger and clearer in his sight. That red in the moon seemed to have some sort of mysterious force. As it shone, the light seeped into his body. Time passed by slowly. Xiao Hong had already woken up a long time ago and it was watching Su Ming with a dumb expression not far away. There was a puzzled look in its eyes. It also looked at the moon outside from the little holes, but the moon looked just the same as it always did. It scratched its head and could not understand why Su Ming was daydreaming. No one noticed that at that very moment, amid the 5 summits on Dark Mountain, a mysterious change was also happening where all the wings of the moon were sleeping. It was especially so in the deeper parts of Black Flame Mountain. On the giant red tree within the magma-covered basin, numerous line-like creatures were floating about. Sometimes, the faces of the wings of the moon would be visible. There were no looks of viciousness or sadness on their faces. Instead, there were expressions of obsession and excitement on their faces. No one knew what they were excited about, but judging by the speed of their movements, they were extremely excited. It was as if they were struggling to fly out of the tree but were prevented from doing so by some unknown force. It also seemed like they felt something, as though they were being summoned or they were worshipping something, or perhaps they felt the Berserker powers they had lost since ancient times. Within the fire Berserker tribe that existed during ancient times, the corpse lying at its borders seemed to remain unchanged even though it was soaked in the fiery magma. However, the wall where its finger pointed at was empty. The words that Su Ming read the last time were gone. There was nothing there, but the words were not erased by anyone. It was as though they never existed. Even though the corpse was just a pile of bones, the look of mockery and aloofness on its face was even more distinct. Perhaps he was not mocking what happened during his death, but what happened after. It was night time. As the moon showed signs of leaving and the first rays of sunlight appeared, a person covered entirely in black walked into the deeper parts of Dark Mountain. It was the same person who appeared in Black Mountain tribe the night of the blood-red moon. He was walking very slowly. With each step he took, his body seemed to enter something like an apparition. He would walk straight through the numerous dried trees in the forest. "It's not here either. Just where is it?" The person sighed and spoke in a hoarse voice as he walked into the distance. As the sun appeared in the sky, he disappeared. Chapter 37. Xiao Hong's Exhilaration. The night was over. The last shreds of darkness were being chased away by the rays of morning sun. The moon in the sky turned into a crescent moon and was about to disappear. Su Ming, who was still in the cave on Black Flame Mountain, shivered and finally lowered his head. There was confusion, bafflement, and most importantly, a shred of emptiness in his eyes. When Xiao Hong saw the expression on Su Ming's face, it immediately puffed its fur up and retreated quickly until its back was pressed against the wall of the cave. Fear and shock appeared across its face. He saw the faint shadow of the blood-red moon slowly disappearing from Su Ming's eyes. The vague shadow of the blood-red moon finally disappeared completely from Su Ming's eyes after a long time, and he snapped out from his trance. Xiao Hong watched Su Ming by his side for a while with a dumbfounded expression. Bewilderment slowly edged itself onto its face. Su Ming took a deep breath. To him, the entire night had passed by in the blink of an eye. Now that his mind was clear, the memories of the night only served to make him even more confused. Once he checked his body, however, all his confusion turned into shock. "My injuries are all cured," Su Ming mumbled. His body had been injured when he forcefully trained himself. The injuries were not serious. With his experience, he knew he only needed to meditate for a few days to recover. Yet he recovered in one night. After a long while, Su Ming took a breath and lifted his head. He only saw the clear sky and sun from the numerous holes in the wall. That was indeed a Berserker art, an art belonging to the Fire Berserker tribe. This art has an incredible power. I only needed to sink into my thoughts for one night and all my injuries have healed. Su Ming's eyes lit up and he immediately activated the qi in his body. Soon, all 19 blood veins appeared on his body. However, when the 19 blood veins emerged, an odd expression appeared on Su Ming's face. He could faintly feel some leftover strength within himself. His expression became serious and once again, he began circulating the qi around his entire body. When the qi went through a few cycles around his entire body, the 20th blood vein appeared suddenly on his chest. Su Ming widened his eyes in shock. Once the qi in his body dispersed, he became even more surprised with what happened the previous night. His heart pounded against his chest. The incredible effects from Mountain Spirit had caught him by surprise. In addition to the discovery of the mysterious effects of the Fire Berserker art, a new path seemed to have opened itself right before Su Ming's eyes. Transcendence. Perhaps I can reach the Transcendence realm and become a powerful Berserker in the Transcendence realm. Su Ming took a deep breath and quelled the excitement in his chest. Xiao Hong ran towards him from where it was not far away and climbed onto Su Ming's shoulders. It stared into Su Ming's eyes with a confused expression. It even brought its paws up to pinch Su Ming's cheeks. Su Ming laughed and pushed the little monkey away. They played around for a while. Then Xiao Hong hissed at Su Ming as if it remembered something. It raised its right paw and sniffed it. An elated expression appeared on its face. It even licked its paw a few times and placed it right before Su Ming like it wanted Su Ming to sniff it. Su Ming was momentarily surprised. He noticed Xiao Hong doing the same thing for the past few months and had a few theories about it. However, he always thought there was something off about his theories. Now that he saw it again, he looked at Xiao Hong's right paw in his face with hesitation. He then sniffed it as Xiao Hong looked at him expectantly. A foul smell wafted its way into his nose. It made him push the paw away. He found Xiao Hong's actions funny and annoying at the same time. Xiao Hong immediately glared at him. It seemed displeased with how Su Ming pushed his hand away and hissed at Su Ming. Then it ran to a corner of the cave and sniffed its paw again. It had the same elated expression on its face, as if it once caught something in its right paw. It never had that habit before. Su Ming looked at Xiao Hong's expression and became even more surprised. As a thought flickered in his mind, he decided on something. A few days passed by since then and Su Ming was once again lost in the process of quenching herbs. The powerful effects of Mountain Spirit made his heart pound in excitement and his desire to create more of them increased. It was a pity that the failure rate for creating Mountain Spirit was incredibly high. Su Ming had only managed to create 2 pills after he used half of the cloud gauze grass he had in stock. Besides quenching herbs, Su Ming would also sit down and control the circulation of the blood around his body during the day. It allowed his body to stabilize even more in the 3rd level of the blood solidification realm. A strong presence spread through his body. Based on Su Ming's analysis, he would have been able to fight against the Berserker from Black Mountain tribe whom he killed using scattering blood, face to face at this point. During the night, Su Ming would give up on the quenching of herbs and sit in the cave to stare at the moon. He pictured the image of the blood-red moon in his head quietly. However, the effects were no longer as powerful and strange as the first day. Even so, the training Su Ming did for the past few days allowed him to manifest another blood vein, turning him into a 22 blood-veined Berserker. That night, Su Ming sat down with his legs crossed and stared at the moon. As he was imagining the red moon, Xiao Hong, who had not gone out of the cave for a few days, got up silently. There was excitement and anticipation in its eyes. It sniffed its right paw with an exhilarated look on its face and watched Su Ming. Once it realized Su Ming was not looking, it ran out of the exit. The moment Xiao Hong disappeared from the cave, Su Ming opened his eyes. A smile appeared at the corners of his lips as he got up quietly and left the cave as well. I want to see just what it is that is captivating Xiao Hong. Su Ming was, after all, still a teenager. He was still inquisitive. After he noticed Xiao Hong's actions, it sparked his curiosity. With Su Ming's new strength as a 22 blood-veined berserker, his speed and agility had arrived at an astonishing level. If he wanted it, there would not even be footsteps left on the snow. He could make it so that Xiao Hong did not notice him even as he followed. Xiao Hong's speed was extremely quick in the night. It reached the foot of the mountain very soon. Su Ming followed it with a grin on his face. However, that grin left his face an hour later and was replaced by an odd expression. He saw Xiao Hong jumping around the forest with a destination in mind. It ran forward with absolutely no hesitation, obviously familiar with the route. It finally stopped in front of a burrow somewhere in the forest. Much of the plants around the burrow were already destroyed, making it look extremely messy. Xiao Hong paced outside the burrow quietly. There was vigilance mixed with anticipation in its demeanor. After it observed the burrow for a while, it rushed in quickly. Su Ming frowned when he saw this not far away. With all his years of experience being in the forest, he could tell with just one glance that the burrow was used by a big wild beast for hibernation. That moment, a low roar filled with anger traveled out from the burrow and a red shadow immediately ran out from the burrow. As it ran, it would also let out piercing shrieks. There was also a hint of pride on its face. Su Ming saw a clear bundle of black fur in its right paw. This is... Su Ming was uncertain of what it was, but soon after, the land trembled and a creature that looked like a giant bear roared within the cave. The beast was entirely black and had long fur. Its eyes were bloodshot with anger. When Su Ming saw the creature, a weird expression settled on his face. He saw that there was only a handful of fur left on a huge portion of the angry beast's groin. It looked positively stark, and clearly it was not the first time the fur over that part was plucked. It must have happened multiple times. When he remembered what Xiao Hong held in its hands, he could not help but also recall the time Xiao Hong asked him to sniff its paw just a few days ago. Su Ming widened his eyes abruptly. The wild beast roared and chased after Xiao Hong furiously, but it did not have Xiao Hong's speed. Before long, it whimpered as if it had given up. Then it returned to the burrow looking very downcast. After a while, huge clamoring sounds came from within the cave as though the beast was venting its anger. Su Ming's mind was blank. With a peculiar expression on his face, he chased after Xiao Hong. His speed was much faster than Xiao Hong's, and not long into the chase, he saw Xiao Hong's shadow from afar. Xiao Hong stopped at a part of the forest filled with dried trees. It looked around its surroundings. It then quickly rubbed the black fur on its groin. Su Ming could see the pride on its face clearly. That look of pride seemed to announce that it was as strong as the bear. In all honesty, it just looked more like a pervert at that moment. Su Ming's face was emotionless. He watched as Xiao Hong walked back into the forest proudly after it was finished with its business. It screeched, and then Su Ming saw a bunch of petite female monkeys whose fur were not red emerging from the forest quickly and surrounding Xiao Hong. He watched as the petite monkeys sniffed Xiao Hong's right paw. They were shocked and fearful. After that, they looked at its groin. Then Xiao Hong went into the deeper parts of the forest with the petite female monkeys feeling proud of himself. Su Ming laughed wryly and sighed. He finally understood. Xiao Hong was using the might of a bear to attract the opposite sex. Su Ming did not know whether to laugh or cry. He did not even know what to think of it. He quickly left the place and went into a trance again to forget about how he was persuaded to sniff Xiao Hong's right paw that day. He returned to the cave feeling embarrassed. Su Ming let out a long sigh. He pitied the bear that lost its fur. No wonder every time Xiao Hong went out, it had come back after a few days exhausted. After resting for a while, it'd recover its strength and go back outside. Su Ming touched his nose and forced himself to ignore the matter. Once again, he immersed himself in projecting the image of the red moon and sank into the mysterious feeling of having the red tint from the moon seeping into his blood. A few days passed by. One night, Su Ming was looking at the moon as he sat down cross-legged as usual. As he looked at the bright surface of the moon, the faint outline of the blood-red moon gradually appeared in Su Ming's vision. It shone brilliantly. Suddenly, the blood-red moon in his left vision seemed to burn. Su Ming trembled. A string of words crossed his mind. As the fire in mine blood burns, the 9 is the utmost of all, and the 1 is the law. Light up the Berserker fires and worship the 9, did let us all becometh the authorities of fire. Chapter 38. Burning of Blood. As the fire in mine blood burns, the 9 is the utmost of all, and the 1 is the law. Light up the Berserker fires and worship the 9, did let us all becometh the authorities of fire. Su Ming mumbled instinctively. The string of words kept repeating themselves in his head, and it became louder each time they were repeated. It was like the roar of thunder by the end as they rumbled repeatedly in his head. The faint shadow of the blood-red moon became even clearer in Su Ming's eyes. It gave off a strange and enchanting glow as if it was burning. Su Ming felt a stab of pain in his eyes. The pain was not too obvious in the beginning. However, as time passed and the moon shone in the sky, the pain intensified until Su Ming started trembling. It seemed as though he could no longer bear it. He wanted to close his eyes and stop looking at the moon. The source of his pain was not the fire but the moonlight. At the same time, he had a strong feeling that somehow it all happened because it was the right time for him to learn this strange art. If he closed his eyes, he would be giving up on learning the art. He also had a feeling that if he gave up then, he would lose the right to learn it ever again. As the fire in mine blood burns. But how do I make it burn? Su Ming's eyes were bloodshot. The veins in his eyes surrounded the shadow of the blood-red moon which had substituted his pupils. It made Su Ming look especially ghastly at that moment. The burning image of the blood-red moon also burned away all the moisture in his eyes. His eyes looked dried up and bloodshot at the same time. It was like his eyes were about to wither away at any moment. Su Ming lifted his eyes and roared. His face was twisted as he controlled the circulation of blood in his veins. Yet, no matter how hard he pushed the blood towards his eyes, there were no signs of alleviation from the dryness in his eyes. If anything, it only made the withering sensation in his eyes even worse. Gradually, the moon began to fade from Su Ming's sight. If there was anyone besides Su Ming then, they would have clearly seen that Su Ming's eyes were still burning with red fire. The fire looked like blood and it was burning rapidly. How am I supposed to make my blood burn? Just how am I supposed to make my blood burn? Su Ming struggled. He could not understand the underlying meaning of the strange Berserker art. As most of his field of vision faded away, he slowly closed his eyes. He knew that if he did not close his eyes by then, it was highly possible that he would no longer see light. Yet, at the very moment before his eyes closed completely, a strange picture appeared in Su Ming's head like a flash of lightning. It was something he saw before he saved Bai Ling. It was the pain and sadness on the wings of the moon's faces residing on the red branch in the fire cave. The wings of the moon repeatedly bit through their claws and wiped their eyes with them. Su Ming was startled. He understood something. That very moment before he completely closed his eyes, he opened them once again and brought his right hand to his mouth. He bit down resolutely. Immediately, blood flowed down from his fingertips. The moment his blood stained his entire finger, he raised his hand and smeared his eyes with the blood on his finger. The moment Su Ming smeared his eyes with blood, something like a bellow came out from between his eyebrows. His eyes immediately felt refreshed. Black Flame Mountain also seemed to quake lightly, but strangely, not a single fleck of snow moved. It was as if the physical body of the mountain did not shake instead, it was the spirit of the mountain which shook. At the same time, whiffs of air which could not be seen flowed out from within Black Flame Mountain suddenly. They gathered hastily around Su Ming. Su Ming did not know what it was, but he could feel the whiffs of air coming towards him. They were fusing into his eyes. It was as if his eyes had turned into a vortex and it was pulling in the air. The whiffs of air which entered his eyes were like rain that could extinguish the fire. As they flowed into his eyes, the dull look in Su Ming's eyes disappeared rapidly. His eyes could see clearly once again. However, amid the clarity in his eyes, there was a hint of a blood-red glint. The world Su Ming saw turned a bloody red at that moment. The burning and dry sensation in his eyes went away abruptly and were replaced with a refreshing feeling. The pain in his body also disappeared like the wind at the same time. As the whiffs of strange air gushed into Su Ming's eyes, they spread to his entire body before assimilating into his blood. Then along with the blood, They circulated around his entire body. The 22 blood veins were shining brightly in a scarlet light on Su Ming's body. When the light enveloped his entire body, the 23rd blood vein manifested out of nowhere. The moment the 23rd blood vein appeared, the blood-red tint in Su Ming's eyes flashed and the 24th blood vein manifested as well. After a long time, the sky began to brighten and the moon started to fade. Soon, it was going to be replaced by the sun. Su Ming stood up quickly and ran towards the exit. In the blink of an eye, he arrived outside. The winds in the mountain whined and led his long hair in a dance. The 24 blood veins shone fiercely on his body. Su Ming looked incredibly unearthly. He stood there and looked at the moon which was about to fade away. Suddenly, he breathed deeply in the direction of the moon. At that point, Su Ming saw the moon sway. A hint of red moonlight fell from the moon straight into Su Ming's eyes and it disappeared soon after. Su Ming shivered. On his neck, the 25th blood vein appeared. He had arrived at the 4th level of the blood solidification realm. Within most small tribes, a lot of value was attached to berserkers in the 4th level of the blood solidification realm. This meant that tribe members who had reached the 4th level could join the hunting team. It also meant that such a tribe member could become one of the main forces in the tribe should there be a battle. At the same time, the 4th level also signaled that the berserker had arrived at the peak of the early stages of the blood solidification realm. If they reached the 5th level, they would then become berserkers in the middle stage of the blood solidification realm. More importantly, once he reached the middle stage of blood solidification, there was hope for Su Ming to learn and use a new berserker art. Su Ming felt a powerful feeling of strength he had never felt before in his body. His whole demeanor was calm. He looked at the fading moon and the brightening sky as the blood in his veins circulated around his body. The whiffs of cold air seemed to rush towards his eyes. At the same time, huge amounts of air which held the same properties rushed towards him from the mountains. He even had a strange feeling that he could control the light from the moon. Under the guidance of this strange sensation, Su Ming lifted his hand slowly and waved lightly the very moment the moon was about to disappear. Chapter 39. I Want to Become Stronger. The moment Su Ming waved his right hand, the fading crescent moon in the sky suddenly emitted a bright silver light. No one else could see the silver light. Only Su Ming could. As the silver light fell from the sky following Su Ming's hand motion, he saw the sky before him twisting. Then he saw the light he coaxed out from the moon blink and a roar rang through the sky. A big portion of the stone walls in front of Su Ming cracked and split into a large amount of debris that scattered on the ground. Some of the debris even fell into the stream on the mountain and they echoed for a long time. Su Ming widened his eyes and took a deep breath. He looked at his right hand with a dumbfounded expression. It took him a long time before he snapped out of his daze and looked at the sky. The moon had already vanished and the sun had risen. The land welcomed its first rays of sunlight for the day. Is this the fire berserker art? But this art is related to the moon. It has nothing to do with fire. Why is it so? Su Ming mumbled under his breath. His heart was pounding rapidly against his chest. When he guided the might of the moonlight with his right hand earlier, there was a strangeness to it that he did not understand. Nonetheless, the viciousness of the art made Su Ming's heart pound. He clenched his right fist and swung it against a big rock lying by his side as he activated his qi. The 25 blood veins manifested on his body, crisscrossing on his skin. As his fist touched the stone, a muffled boom rang in the air. Several cracks appeared on the stone. At the same time, a strong rebound traveled up along Su Ming's right arm into his body, but it was blocked by his qi. Su Ming took a step back. He looked at the multiple cracks which appeared on the big stone and his eyes shone with excitement. I can only make the stone crack even with my strength as a 4th level berserker in the blood solidification realm. If I cast Spirit Devourer and I find a suitable animal spirit, perhaps I can make the stone shatter. But this is already my full strength. If I compare this with that small ray of moonlight, then there's a huge difference. If one small ray of moonlight already had such powerful effects, if I had more. Su Ming took a deep breath and laughed happily. He could feel his own body change and the power stored within his body. He began to look forward, for night to arrive. It's a pity I can only use the power of the moonlight at night. Su Ming went back into the cave. Su Ming had never looked forward for night to come so strongly before. He would lift his head and look out the holes to check the sky occasionally. He felt as if the day was passing by too slowly. Gradually, the day darkened once again and moonlight lit up the land. Su Ming quelled the excitement in his heart and looked at the moon. He took a deep breath as his eyes glinted. From the inheritance he obtained from the god of Berserkers, Su Ming clearly knew that once he reached the 5th or even higher level of the blood solidification realm, he would be able to cast 2 extremely powerful Berserker arts. They had been passed down the Dark Mountain tribe when it was still a middle-sized tribe hundreds of years ago. Dark Blood Dust and Execution of the 3 Evils. Dark Blood Dust gathers a drop of Berserker blood within the body and allows the caster to obtain an astonishing burst of strength for a short period of time. As for Execution of the 3 Evils, every time Su Ming thought about it, his heart pounded in excitement. Dark Blood Dust could only be cast by Berserkers who had manifested more than 50 blood veins. It was even harder for Execution of the 3 Evils. The caster needed to manifest 200 blood veins to be able to cast the very first stage of the art. They could only then cast the first strike. To arrive at the 5th level of the blood solidification realm, he needed 53 blood veins. If he wanted to become a Berserker at the 6th level, he needed 109 blood veins. As for the 7th level, he needed 243 blood veins. The peak of the middle stage of the blood solidification realm was the 8th level, where he would require 399 blood veins. Every level above the 9th level until the 11th level was considered the final stage of the blood solidification realm. At the 11th level, the number of blood veins required was a normal Berserker's limit. He or she needed to manifest all 781 blood veins. If more blood veins were manifested, not only would the Berserker become stronger, the chances of arriving at the Transcendence realm would also be higher. Su Ming's eyes shone. He looked at the moon in the sky and the anticipation within his eyes grew. As he imagined the moon turning red in his head, the red moon gradually appeared in his eyes. He also felt the burning sensation in his eyes again. This time, Su Ming did not hesitate and bit through the skin on his finger and smeared his blood over his eyes. His whole body seemed to cry out, and the strange sight which unfolded within Black Flame Mountain the day before occurred once more. I want to become stronger. The 25 blood veins manifested on Su Ming's body and shone in a blood-red glow as they absorbed the air from the mountain. Air was rushing towards him from all around. At the same time, as image of the blood-red moon shone in his eyes, Su Ming lifted his right hand and smeared the blood on his fingers across his eyes once again. The desire to obtain Berserk spreads to all corners of the earth. Let fire burn in mine blood, let mine thoughts burn the skies, let fire burn heaven into ashes. If T be true, the moon of fire appears from the clouds on the endless earth. I wilt sink into deep bethought as the fire in mine blood burns. The 9 is the utmost of all, and the 1 is the law. Light up the Berserker fires and worship the 9, did let us all becometh the authorities of fire. The 9 is the utmost of all. The 9 is the utmost of all. The meaning of this must be that I have to let my blood burn 9 times. Once Su Ming smeared his blood across his eyes again, his body trembled furiously. Tremors shook the entire Black Flame Mountain, but still, no one noticed the tremors this time as well. A stronger wave of the mountain's aura came rushing into Su Ming's body in the form of air. It made him feel as if he was about to explode. The light from the 25 blood veins became even brighter on his skin and started moving as if they were alive. At that moment, the 26th blood vein manifested on Su Ming's body, but it did not stop there. The 27th, 28th, 29th, right up to the 33rd blood vein manifested at the same time on his body. Su Ming's breathing quickened as his heartbeat raced against his chest. He was drunk on power. It seemed like he refused to wake up, but his mind was still clear. As the blood-red moon in his eyes shone once again, he lifted his right hand slowly and pierced the skin of his 3rd finger. The fresh blood gathering on his finger had some sort of mysterious power. Su Ming looked at the fresh blood and slowly placed it on his eyes. He was making his blood burn for the 3rd time. He had a strong feeling that if he could make his blood burn the 3rd time, his power would increase exponentially. That thought made his body shiver as he stared at his finger. Su Ming gritted his teeth and pressed his finger against his right eye and wiped it gently. The moment some of the blood smeared over his right eye, the entire dark mountain trembled. Not only Black Flame Mountain trembled, but the other 4 summits also shook as if their souls trembled. Many birds and beasts looked at the sky in fear and did not dare to move. However, when anyone looked at the mountains, they appeared normal. There were no obvious signs of change. Neither Dark Dragon Tribe nor Dark Mountain Tribe noticed it. Only Bai Tu, from Black Mountain Tribe, who absorbed the blood of the Wings of the Moon to break through the Transcendence realm, noticed. His heart trembled. There was a shred of horror in his eyes as he went out of his house and looked into the sky. However, the sensation was fleeting and it disappeared like the wind. No matter how hard he tried to find it, he could not pinpoint the source of his fear. Aside from Bai Tu, all the Wings of the Moon residing within the deeper parts of the 5 mountains had excited looks on their faces when Su Ming attempted to burn his blood the 3rd time. They were in a frenzy, trying to break through the strange tree which held them. It was as though they were searching for their king. Nonetheless, they were held back by an unknown force and could not go out. At the same time, the strange red tree within Dark Mountain trembled. It was unknown whether it was trembling in agitation or fear. Meanwhile in the cave, Su Ming's eyes did not stop trembling as his right eye was smeared with fresh blood. The strong aura from the entirety of Dark Mountain charged into his body madly. It caused the blood veins on his body to manifest at a speed that terrified even Su Ming. 34, 35, 36, 42, 44, and they did not stop manifesting right up until the 47th blood vein. Su Ming could not continue any longer. The feeling like he was about to explode had become even more apparent. He could even vaguely hear the howls of the Wings of the Moon calling out from within Dark Mountain. He raised his right hand. His breathing was rapid as it came out in harsh pants. His entire body was drenched in sweat. At the same time, he could not feel the movement of Dark Mountain's soul anymore. The strong aura that rushed towards him also disappeared. The roars which rang faintly in his ears also disappeared and everything returned to normal. However, Su Ming knew that everything that had happened earlier was not normal at all. What a strong Berserker art! I can feel that if I complete the 3rd cycle of the burning of blood, the number of my blood veins manifesting will increase by several fold. This is only the 3rd time. If I go through all 9 times... Su Ming took a shaky breath. He began to feel a bit apprehensive about continuing with this method of training. It's not only 9 times of that. From what I understand, once I have burned my blood 9 times, I can then worship the Moon of Fire. Once I worship it 9 times, I can then obtain the power to control all fire. At that moment, Su Ming felt as if his body had become unbelievably powerful. After some time, he lifted his head and his eyes were bright with resolution. If I train with this art using the pills, I will be able to reach the Transcendence realm. Su Ming clenched his fists. Chapter 40. Feeling of Animosity. Time passed by as Su Ming immersed himself in the process of quenching herbs and his training. Xiao Hong returned to the cave exhausted after a few days as Su Ming was meditating. Its red fur had darkened several shades as well, illustrating just how tired it was. However tired as it may be, there were expressions of longing and pride on its face. It kept sniffing its right paw and grinned as if it was giggling foolishly. When Xiao Hong came back, Su Ming opened his eyes slightly. When he saw Xiao Hong, he remembered what he witnessed the day he followed Xiao Hong into the forest. An awkward expression settled on his face. Xiao Hong noticed Su Ming's gaze and turned around to look at him. It immediately ran towards him and raised its right paw proudly. It extended its right paw to Su Ming, urging Su Ming to sniff it again. It felt that it had to share everything that was good with everyone. Su Ming did not know whether to laugh or cry. He no longer paid any attention to Xiao Hong and once again immersed himself in his training. The month soon passed by. The date Su Ming was to go with the elder to Windstream tribe loomed near. During this period of time, Su Ming used up all of the cloud gauze grass in his possession but only managed to create 1 mountain spirit. The high failure rate made Su Ming's spirits incredibly low. At the very least, his training had been pretty successful. He had completely settled into the 4th level of the blood solidification realm and managed to manifest 2 more blood veins, bringing the total blood veins he manifested up to 49 blood veins. He had also gradually adapted to the strangeness of the fire Berserker art. However, the further down the path of the blood solidification realm, the harder it was to solidify more blood veins. Lately, no matter how hard Su Ming trained, he could no longer solidify any more of his blood. He understood that this was related to the incompletion of the 3rd burning of his blood. Moreover, when the moon was out at night, Su Ming acted according to his senses and tried to control the moonlight multiple times. However, the results were not obvious. It seemed like he could only control no more than a small ray of moonlight. Even though it was only a small ray of moonlight, in Su Ming's hands, it was incredibly sharp. Even more so than his horn. Most importantly, Xiao Hong could not see the ray of moonlight. From that observation alone, Su Ming believed that he was the only one who could see the moonlight, no one else. It was daylight. Su Ming stood up and looked around the fire cave. After a moment of silence, he pushed his barren cauldron aside. He did not know how long he would stay at Windstream Tribe. He needed to make preparations. On the walls of the fire cave were numerous fine ravines decorating the walls densely. Those ravines were created during the days Su Ming learned how to control the moonlight. Once he packed up, Su Ming left the cave. Xiao Hong had already woken up. When it saw that Su Ming was about to leave, it followed him quickly. When they arrived outside the cave, it climbed onto Su Ming's shoulders, too lazy to descend the mountain on its own. It's a pity mountain spirit is too hard to make. There were 8 holes underneath the picture of mountain spirit on the 2nd door, so it's obvious I have to offer 8 of them. I wonder how long it'll take for me to offer up 8 mountain spirits without forsaking my own training. Besides, I also need to offer the pills called Fire of the South for the 2nd door to open. But I've never seen the herbs required for the pills before. Thank the heavens for the bamboo slip the elder gave me. At least there are some descriptions of herbs there. Su Ming stood outside the cave and looked at the sun rising from the horizon. He breathed in the refreshing cold air around him. I can only open the 2nd door after I have gathered enough mountain spirit and fire of the south. At the very least, there is no need for me to create the welcoming of deities. Still, it just shows how rare the welcoming of deities is. As Su Ming was deep in his thoughts, Xiao Hong, who was sprawled across his shoulders, grabbed his hair and hissed impatiently. Su Ming patted the little monkey's head and jumped down the mountain peak. The wind blew against him. It made his shirt and hair flutter. It also made Xiao Hong clutch onto Su Ming's hair tightly as it screamed in terror. Su Ming laughed. He grabbed onto a stone within his right hand's reach as he fell. Once he regained his momentum, he jumped down again. With his current abilities, Su Ming arrived at the foot of Black Flame Mountain before long. Snow still covered the forests. They were really soft under his feet as well. He sank when he stepped on them. Su Ming then ran into the distance. He originally intended to return to the tribe, but when he arrived at a crossroads, his footsteps faltered and he hesitated for a moment. Xiao Hong was sitting on Su Ming's shoulders. It seemed to be in a comfortable position. Occasionally, it would sniff its right paw with an exhilarated expression. It was slightly surprised when it saw Su Ming stop. The right path led back to his own tribe, whereas the left path. Su Ming gazed at the path. It led to Dark Dragon Tribe. I'll just go and take a look. Xiao Hong, have you ever seen Bai Ling? Oh, that's right. You've never seen her. Do you want to see her? Su Ming asked softly. Xiao Hong widened its eyes. It scratched the fur on its face and did not make a sound. All right. Since you want to see her, I'll let you look at her from afar. Su Ming spoke as if he suddenly had a perfectly logical reason to go to Dark Dragon Tribe. He smiled and patted Xiao Hong's head. When Xiao Hong looked at him with an unamused expression, Su Ming ran down the left lane quickly. Su Ming arrived at the spot where he parted with Bai Ling when dusk arrived. The sun had turned red as it began to set. He squatted there and looked at the silhouette of Dark Dragon Tribe. He saw the other members of Dark Dragon Tribe moving in there, but he did not see Bai Ling. After a long time, Su Ming sank into his thoughts. He did not know what he was thinking. He only thought that Bai Ling was pretty. She was the prettiest girl he had ever seen in his life, and he wanted to look at her a few more times. After a moment of hesitation, he sat down quietly and chose not to take any action. Instead, he looked at the sky. When the sun was about to set and the sky about to darken completely, he stood up and walked forward briskly. He still kept a hint of awareness to his surroundings as he approached Dark Dragon Tribe. Nonetheless, he did not dare go too near the tribe. It was, after all, not Dark Mountain Tribe. If he was discovered, there was a possibility he would be in danger. While the relationship between Dark Mountain Tribe and Dark Dragon Tribe was not as tense as Dark Mountain Tribe and Black Mountain Tribe, it did not mean that they were at peace with each other. If they met in the wild, they still regarded each other with hostility. It would have been even more so if they had discovered Su Ming, who had been lingering outside Dark Dragon Tribe. I shouldn't have done this. Su Ming mumbled as he continued walking forward. When he was about 10,000 feet away from Dark Dragon Tribe, he stopped walking. Su Ming grew up in the tribe and had been regularly going out into the wild to collect herbs. On occasion, he even ran into members from Black Mountain Tribe. Caution and vigilance was practically second nature to him. He had seen too much violence in his life. Even if most of the violence happened to beasts which the hunting team brought back, living in such conditions for years had already influenced him unconsciously as a child. Besides, he had already killed someone. Not even Lei Chen had stained his hands with human blood before. As such, even if Su Ming wanted to see Bai Ling for some unknown reason, his instincts that were buried deep within told him to move only during the night. As an act of caution, Su Ming also chose to stop 10,000 feet away from the tribe. He squatted down and took a look at Dark Dragon Tribe. Then, he turned around resolutely without hesitation and left the area around Dark Dragon Tribe quickly. Yet just as he took a few steps forward, Su Ming felt goosebumps. A sense of danger far stronger than his meeting with the two berserkers from Black Mountain Tribe came crashing towards him. As he leaped forward, he twisted his body abruptly and covered his head with both hands. His entire body curled into a ball as he hugged Xiao Hong tightly in his bosom, stopping in midair for a brief moment as if he was frozen. That moment, a sharp whistling sound sliced through the air. A long gigantic spear about 30 feet flew towards Su Ming like lightning from within the giant wooden fence surrounding Dark Dragon Tribe. It rushed past Su Ming's body and stuck itself into the ground, creating a loud noise. The ground shook and snow flew into the air. It also stirred up a wave of air which spread across a wide area around the spear. Su Ming was lucky he was cautious enough to avoid it beforehand. He landed on the ground as he moved along the air's wave current and ran forward at full speed immediately. Leaving. A cold voice traveled from afar. A man with long hair wearing a shirt made of sackcloth chased after him with a fierce look in his eyes. As Su Ming ran forward, he turned back and looked at him with a cold glare in his eyes. Chapters 36 through 40 conclude with a definitive display of Su Ming's cunning and growing strength in his new environment. The foundation for his comeback is laid, but the cost of maintaining his disguise and secrecy is immense. The world may have forgotten his face, but soon, they will know his power. Thank you for listening to this crucial segment of Pursuit of the Truth from Panda Audiobooks. What element of his new identity do you think is his greatest weakness? Let us know in the comments. Join us next time for the next episode, as Su Ming makes his first major move. Like, subscribe, and continue the epic saga.